Let me ask you something, and I want you to actually think about this for a second. You've been working for, what, 10, 15, maybe 20 years? And every paycheck, a chunk of your money goes into your 401k. You see the balance growing. Maybe you even feel good about it, like you're doing the responsible thing, the smart thing. But here's what nobody told you. Somewhere buried deep inside your 401k plan, in a document you've probably never opened, written in language that sounds like it was designed to confuse you, there is a number, a small-looking number, a percentage, and that percentage is quietly, slowly, relentlessly eating your retirement alive. We're not talking about a little bit of money. We're talking about potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars. Gone. Not from a bad investment, not from a market crash, just from a fee you didn't know you were paying. And the worst part? It's completely legal. The system was designed this way. And today we're going to expose exactly how it works and what you can do about it. Okay, so let's start from the beginning because I want to make sure everyone is on the same page here. Your 401k is an investment account. When you put money into it, that money gets invested, usually into mutual funds or index funds, and those funds charge a fee every single year just for the privilege of being in them. This fee is called an expense ratio, and it's expressed as a percentage of your total account balance. Now here's where it gets tricky. The fee doesn't show up as a bill. Nobody sends you an invoice. There's no line item on your statement that says fee $847. The money just quietly disappears from your returns before you ever see them. It's deducted automatically, invisibly, every single year. And because it's invisible, most people have absolutely no idea what they're paying. According to a 2023 survey by the American Association of Retired Persons, the AARP, nearly 71% of 401k participants didn't know they were paying any fees at all. 71%, that's not a small number. That is most people. Look, if nobody in your life has ever explained this to you, that is exactly why this channel exists. If you're finding this useful, hit subscribe right now. Because every week on Garrett Invest, we expose exactly what the financial system doesn't want you to know. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Okay, back to the math. So what's the typical fee? Well, that's where it gets interesting, and by interesting I mean infuriating. The average expense ratio in a typical employer-sponsored 401k plan sits somewhere between 0.5% and 1.5% per year. Some plans, especially at smaller companies, can charge 2% or even higher. Now I know what you're thinking. 1%? That's nothing. That's literally 1 penny per dollar. How bad can it be? Let me show you exactly how bad it can be. And I'm going to use real numbers so you can see this clearly. Let's say you're 30 years old. You have $50,000 in your 401k today. You're contributing $500 per month, and you're going to retire at 65. That's 35 years of growth, with an average market return of 7% per year, which is the conservative historical average after inflation. Here's what happens depending on the fees you're paying. With a 0.1% expense ratio, which is what you'd get in a low-cost index fund like a Vanguard or Fidelity fund, your account grows to approximately $760,000 at retirement. With a 1% expense ratio, which is completely average, totally normal, what millions of Americans are paying right now, your account grows to approximately $1,300,000. With a 1.5% expense ratio, still not even the highest fees out there, you end up with approximately $1,100,000. You see what just happened there? Going from 0.1% to just 1% costs you $460,000. Going from 0.1% to 1.5% costs you $660,000. Over $500,000. Vanished. Not because of anything you did wrong, not because the market crashed, just because of a fee. That is not a rounding error. That is a retirement. That is the difference between being comfortable at 65 and being stressed at 65. And almost nobody talks about it. Now let's talk about why this happens. Because this isn't an accident. This is a system. And like most systems in finance, it was designed to benefit the people running it, not the people participating in it. Here's how it works. Your employer sets up a 401k plan through a financial services company. Think Fidelity, Vanguard, T. Rowe Price, Principal, Empower. These are the big plan administrators. And those companies offer a menu of investment funds that you can choose from inside your 401k. But here's the thing. Not all the funds on that menu are created equal. Some are low-cost index funds with expense ratios of batandeo 3% to batandeo 10%. Others are actively managed funds, meaning a human fund manager is supposedly picking stocks, with expense ratios of bottom 7.5%, 1%, even 1.5% or more. And in many 401k plans, the high-cost actively managed funds are the default option, meaning if you never logged in and picked your own funds, which most people haven't, your money is sitting in the expensive option right now, automatically, without your permission. Why would your employer choose the expensive plan? Sometimes it's because the financial services company offers the employer incentives, lower administrative costs, better service packages, in exchange for including their higher fee funds. It's not necessarily malicious, but the result is the same. Your retirement shrinks, so someone else's profits grow. And here's the kicker. The fund managers running those expensive, actively managed funds, study after study shows they don't outperform the market. A landmark report from S&P Global, called the SPIVA scorecard, found that over a 20-year period, more than 90% of actively managed funds underperform their benchmark index, meaning you're paying more and getting less. You're literally paying a premium for worse results. Real quick, if this is making you angry, good, it should. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share this video with them right now. It takes 2 seconds and it might save them hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay, let's keep going. So why don't people fix this? Why do millions of Americans keep sitting in expensive funds when the solution is just a few clicks away? A few reasons, and they're all very human. First, there's the invisibility problem we already talked about. You can't fix a problem you can't see, and these fees are specifically designed to be invisible. The financial industry lobbied for years to avoid having to disclose fees clearly. The regulations that exist, the ones that forced some transparency, came only after enormous public pressure. The industry fought them every step of the way. Second, there's something called status quo bias. It's a real psychological phenomenon where people prefer to keep things the way they are, even when changing would clearly benefit them. Your 401k came preloaded with fund options. Changing them requires logging in, reading through fund names that all sound the same, and making a decision. And our brains treat that friction as a reason not to act. So we don't. And the fees keep compounding. Third, and this one is important, there's the complexity shield. Financial jargon is not an accident. Words like expense ratio, basis points, fund administrator, revenue sharing, 12B-1 fees, these aren't complicated because finance is inherently complicated. They're complicated because complexity protects profits. If you don't understand what you're being charged, you can't complain about it, and you can't leave. Okay, here's where we go from frustrating to actionable. Because the good news is, once you know what to look for, finding your fees takes about 5 minutes. Step 1. Log into your 401k account. Whether it's through Fidelity, Vanguard, Empower, Principal, or whoever your plan is with, log in today, not this weekend, today. Step 2. Find your current fund holdings. There should be a section that shows you exactly which funds your money is invested in and what percentage of your balance is in each one. Step 3. Look up the expense ratio for each fund. This is usually shown as a percentage right next to the fund name. If you can't find it on your plan's website, Google the fund name followed by the word expense ratio. It will come up instantly. Step 4. Compare what you're paying to what's available. Inside almost every 401k plan, even the expensive ones, there are usually 1 or 2 low-cost index fund options. Look for funds with words like index, S&P 500, or total market in the name. These are almost always the cheapest options on the menu. And step 5, if you find cheaper options, switch. It's not complicated. It usually takes less than 10 minutes. You're not changing where your money is invested in terms of the stock market. You're just changing the vehicle. Going from an expensive fund that tracks the S&P 500 to a cheap fund that tracks the S&P 500 is the same investment, just with less money being skimmed off the top. Now, what if you look at your plan and every single fund option is expensive? No index funds, no low-cost options, just a menu of actively managed funds all charging 0.75% or more. This happens, especially at smaller companies, and it is genuinely frustrating. But you still have options. First, if your employer offers any kind of match, you still take the full match, always. An employer match is an instant 50% to 100% return on your money. Even with high fees, that math still works in your favor. Contribute enough to capture every dollar of the match. That's non-negotiable. Second, contribute up to the match in your 401k, then redirect additional retirement savings to an IRA. A traditional IRA or Roth IRA gives you complete control over your investment options. You can go directly to Vanguard or Fidelity and invest in their lowest cost index funds with expense ratios as low as 0.03%. For 2026, you can contribute up to $7,000 per year to an IRA, or $8,000 if you're 50 or older. Third, advocate internally. Talk to your HR department. Ask them to review the plan's fund options. Ask specifically about adding a low-cost index fund option. You might be surprised. A single employee asking the right question has changed 401k plans at companies before. You have more power than you think. And fourth, document everything. Keep records of what your plan offers. If your employer is a fiduciary, which most are required to be, they have a legal obligation to act in your financial interest. Persistently high-fee plans with no low-cost alternatives have been the subject of class action lawsuits. Employees have won. The law is on your side more than the industry wants you to know. Look, I want to zoom out for a second because I think there's something important here that goes beyond just the 401k fee. The reason this matters so much, the reason I'm genuinely frustrated when I talk about this, is because retirement is not a luxury. For most Americans, the 401k is the primary wealth-building vehicle of their entire financial life. It's not a side account, it's the account. And the fact that it has been quietly compromised by fees that most people don't know about, that is not okay. According to the Federal Reserve's most recent survey of consumer finances, the median retirement account balance for Americans between 55 and 64, the people closest to retirement, is just $134,000. The median, meaning half of near retirees, have less than $134,000 saved, and the financial industry has been skimming fees off that money for decades. Now, some of that is people not saving enough. That's a real problem too. But some of it, a meaningful, measurable chunk of it, is fees. Fees that were invisible, fees that were never clearly disclosed, fees that were baked into the default options of plans that were supposed to be helping people retire with dignity. The system is not neutral. It was built with certain interests in mind, and your interests, building a retirement that actually works, were not always at the top of that list. So here's where we land, and I want to be direct with you because that's what this channel is about. You cannot control the stock market. You cannot control inflation. You cannot control interest rates or recessions or any of the macro forces that affect your investments, but you can control your fees. That is entirely within your power. And unlike market returns, which go up and down, reducing your fees is a guaranteed permanent compounding improvement to your retirement. A 1% fee reduction doesn't just save you 1%. Over 30 years, it saves you potentially $400,000 or more. Because every dollar you stop paying in fees stays in your account and compounds. The math is unambiguous. So here's your homework from this video. Today, not tomorrow, not this weekend, today, log into your 401k account. Find your expense ratios. If they're above 0.5%, find the cheapest index fund available in your plan and switch. It takes 10 minutes. And those 10 minutes could be worth more to your retirement than years of extra contributions. The system counts on you not doing this. The system profits from your inaction. Every day you stay in an expensive fund is another day the fee machine runs. Don't let it. The math doesn't lie. The system does. And now you know. If this video opened your eyes to something that was quietly costing you money, drop a comment below and tell me what expense ratio you found in your 401k. I genuinely want to know, and I read every comment. And if you have a friend or family member who has a 401k and has never checked their fees, share this video with them. You might literally be saving them hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's not an exaggeration. That's just the math. Subscribe to Garrett Invest for more videos that expose what the financial system doesn't want you to know. See you in the next one.